I begin by just welcoming the Himmelrichs, who are a great, great Taft family, and they are here, frankly, they're here because they love this school and they want to help you, and they have a story to tell. So Shelley and Bill, for you guys to be here means the world to me. And Shelley's going to introduce Poppy in a minute, and she will be available after she speaks in the faculty room, and we'll be here till 2 o'clock. And by all means, as you know, when we have outside speakers, don't hesitate to come up and introduce yourself. And if you have questions or you want to be part of that Q&A, do so. So the Charlie Fund was founded in 2021. And it honors Charlie Himmelrich, who graduated from Taft in 2017. And if you go onto the website, there's a phrase that reads, "Charlie spent his time making others smile and building meaningful relationships with everyone he crossed paths with." And for the faculty who were here when Charlie was here, that's exactly the young man we remember. Charlie knew everybody. And on a typical day, he would pop into every office on the main hall, and if you were lucky enough, your day got better because Charlie came by. And I was one of those who was lucky enough. And that was just with the adults. With students, Charlie was one of the most visible members of the school. I do not think there was a student at Taft, didn't matter the age, didn't matter the background, who didn't know Charlie, because Charlie connected with everybody. And he was a singular and graceful and humane and warm and loving spirit. And so we're really here in a way to honor him. I've always wanted Taft to be a high health and high happiness place, even as it is a demanding and challenging place. And I think both of those can be possible. You have faculty here who care deeply about you, and they are going to be here and share in your triumphs, but maybe more importantly, they're going to be here to support you in your trials. And with the faculty, I've repeatedly said as the goal that we are a place where we talk about mental health and physical health with the same kind of comfort and honesty and informed and understanding. So that means sometimes knowing that Taft is hard, and you may not be feeling okay, and that's okay. And there are people here who want to help you. And so today is really a day where we are honoring Charlie's spirit and working towards that goal where every one of you feels that you can be healthy and happy here. So with a deep sense of gratitude, could you please welcome Charlie Himmelrich?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mack. Thank you also to Taft's wonderful counseling department. We're grateful to be here with our educational partners' mindset of possibility. Extra special thanks to Mr. Crimmins for helping us move this important discussion forward. We lost our son Charlie to suicide, and the hardest part is that nobody will ever know why. Be a leader and break the silence. Talk about your mind and feelings the way you discuss everything else. This could be the most important choice that you make. Please remember the dedication in Happy Not Perfect. There is always light in the seemingly dark. It's my pleasure to introduce Poppy Jamie. Poppy is the founder of Happy Not Perfect, co-founder of Pop and Suki, and a mental health advocate. She's one of Forbes' 30 Under 30, British entrepreneur and TV presenter. Poppy Jamie is the founder of the mental well-being app, Happy Not Perfect. She is the co-founder of the accessories line Pop and Suki, host of the Not Perfect podcast, which I can highly recommend. The podcast is amazing. And the author of Happy Not Perfect, Upgrade Your Mind, Challenge Your Thoughts, and Free Yourself from Anxiety. In 2016, Poppy launched the first talk show on Snapchat, Pillow Talk with Poppy. And the following year, she set up her two enterprises with a dedicated focus on creating accessible tools to help the stress and anxiety of young people. Poppy is the youngest board member on the UCLA Resnick Neuropsychic Hospital Board of Advisors, a Point of Light Award holder given last year by the Prime Minister of England for her work in mental health. Poppy is also a global goals advocate for the United Nations. In the Not Perfect podcast, Poppy interviews world experts, thought leaders, and change agents to share tools, wisdom, and advice for living a happy, not perfect life. Poppy, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi everyone, it is such a delight to be here, and in typical happy not perfect style, the tech goes wrong. This really does summarize my life. You try to plan everything and well, hooray! You try to plan everything and then just the unplanned happens. And usually this would really stress me out, but through the tools that I've learned, and also I'm delighted to know that all of you guys have a copy of my book, I have become much better at managing life disasters that we all go through, from the micro to the macro. So before we begin, I would like you all to give me a bit of a nod of the head if anyone has been stressed out before. Yeah? Got some nods? Has anyone ever felt anxious? Nods. Has anyone felt disappointed? Insecure? Angry? Frustrated? A couple of nods there. Brilliant. This makes me feel a lot better. We're all human, because to be human means to feel. And I didn't believe that for a long, long time, because I thought that actually being perfect was my answer to my insecurity. I thought that if I was perfect, then everybody would like me, I would get good grades, I would get a good job, and I would live happily ever after. I just needed to get to perfection. But sadly, this journey led me to a very different place. So when I left school, I became a TV presenter. And as you can see here, I was in Vogue, I was in the New York Times, I was on television, I had the most ultimate famous friends, I had my own talk show on Snapchat that was watched by millions of people. Really, on the surface, you could say my life was pretty perfect. But sadly, my inside life looked very different. This was me on a day-to-day basis behind the scenes. And I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone about it, because I was so wanted everyone to think that everything was okay, with a smile on my face, and I was brilliant at saying, I'm fine, everything's good. And actually underneath, I was a bubbling ball of worry and nervousness, and I just kept pushing through, because I thought, no, but if I get to perfection, all of these feelings will go away. But sadly, that didn't happen, and I ended up in hospital. And when I was lying in that hospital bed, I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, how on earth have I got here? And that is when I decided I needed to learn about my brain. I was so good at learning about everything else, but I was so bad at learning about myself. And the ancient Greeks have this brilliant quote, and it is just as simple as, know thyself. We spend hours studying for our grades, and yet such little time studying what it means to be ourselves, because we're all so unique. So the one thing I would say is be kind. This beautiful quote by Plato, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle. And that's the thing with mental health. It is the most in disguise challenge that we will all face, because we're all so good at pretending. So today I wanted to share with you the 5 things I wish I knew about my brain earlier. Number 1, when you're stressed, we can't think clearly. So you know that feeling when you get that text message or that email, or someone says, can we have a quick word? And your tummy just goes, whoosh. And you kind of have that tummy drop, and your shoulders get a bit tighter, and that feeling of stress and anxiety just rushes through your body. In that moment, those are the signs that also mean the computer side of your brain, the wise part of your brain that comes up with brilliant decisions, is not working very well. So when we're feeling stressed, that is the worst time to make any decisions, because the part of our brain that makes the best decisions has basically gone offline. So the body on stress. I'm sure you might have heard of the fight or flight. When we are stressed, we essentially have loads of energy all of a sudden to help us remove ourselves from danger. Because going back to caveman times and how we evolved, we needed that response to happen. If we walked into an environment and we saw a huge lion, we would need as much energy as possible to run out of the way. But in 2022, we don't have lions, we just have scary teachers or awkward text messages or breakups that make us feel just as stressed, and we want to run away, but we don't. So we end up making bad decisions, we want to rush to action, and we also lose our creativity and problem-solving skills. So how on earth do we manage this? How do we get to grips with responding to life rather than reacting to life? And this is the greatest wisdom that I learned. And oh my God, this would have solved so many bad decisions that I've made throughout my life. Pause and connect. I had this one brilliant teacher that for the last 5 years, whenever I talk to them, she just says, Poppy, pause, what a pleasure. Our brain wants us to react. So when something is happening in our life that we don't want to happen, immediately we want to say something or do something. But as I said, our monkey side of our brain, the emotional part of our brain, is ruling our decisions at that point, and usually they don't end up in the way that we would want them to. So how do we override this? How do we start to switch on the computer side of our brain, that wise part of our brain? How do we get to switch that part back on? And it's so simple. We're going to connect to our breath, we're going to connect to our body, and we're going to connect to others. So I want you all to sit up. Feet on the floor. And I want you to all give me a huge deep breath. And exhale. Okay, so who felt themselves go up on the inhale and down on the exhale? Exactly. Can someone say that was the wrong way to breathe? Yes, correct. So I want you now to give me a breath, imagining that a balloon is in your tummy, and you're going to inhale as if a balloon is expanding inside. So let's go together. So let's inhale. Expand the belly as much as you possibly can. Inhale some more. Really fill up as much as you possibly can. Now exhale really slowly. Belly moves towards the spine. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Let's do that again. Let's relax our shoulders down. Let's inhale into the belly. Expand as much as you possibly can. So if a balloon is expanding inside, let's inhale some more. And let's slowly exhale, exhale, exhale. Release the belly towards the spine. And let's do that one more time all together. Relax your shoulders down. Inhale as much as you possibly can. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Fill up the body as much as you possibly can. Can we inhale some more? Sip in some more air. Really fill up. And now gently exhale. Slowly, as slow as you possibly can. Exhaling out, exhaling out, exhaling out, exhaling out, exhaling out. So I now want you, if you can, I'm not sure if it's going to be possible, can you all stand up? So I want you to all give me the biggest smile. And I want you to slightly lean back so you're looking at the ceiling, opening your chest. So lean back, smiling like this. Okay, and now gently sit down. So that took us less than probably a minute and a half. And I'm going to tell you what happened during that minute and a half. You did a belly breath, and that meant that you stimulated your vagus nerve and you used your body to send signals to your brain to say, I am safe. Because if you think about it, go back to caveman times, we wouldn't be belly breathing if a lion was looking at us in the face, would we? We'd be running away going like this. So belly breathing tricks your brain into remembering that you're safe, you're relaxed, and you can chill out now. When I asked you to stand up, to open your chest, to smile, again, you're using biofeedback. You're using your body to tell your brain that you can feel relaxed, that you are safe. And it's so simple. So before an exam, this is the best trick. Before an exam, belly breathe 5 times, and then do the smile and look up trick. You start to switch on the computer side of your brain. You start to make better decisions. You start to turn on your creativity. You turn on the wise part of your brain. It is the greatest biohack you will ever learn for the rest of your life. So if you want to do a job interview, if you want to speak in front of your school, remember belly breathing and change your body. When you change your energy, when you change your body, you're able to change your mind. I always think it's pretty much impossible to think your way out of a problem, move your way out of a problem. So if you cannot find the answer to something that you're rattling with, move your body and then think about it. Don't get stuck in the energy of stress or the problem that you feel stuck in. The second point, connect with others. So when your computer side of your brain is not working, share your stress with a friend and borrow their computer side of their brain. Because I promise, I bet you are all brilliant at giving advice to others and less brilliant at giving advice to yourself. Because when we're trying to advise ourselves, the emotional part of our brain is trying to work, but when we're advising other people, the computer side, the problem-solving side of our brain works better. So connect with others, talk about your stress, because together you will always come up with better solutions. The second thing I wish I knew earlier is that we all have an inner critic. Every single human being has a little voice in their brain that tells them all the things that could go wrong. And what's fascinating is research proved that we need to hear 3 positive things to override 1 negative. So if one person in your life has told you, oh, you're not very good, you could be better at this, you didn't do so well here, or any sort of insult under the sun, we remember it because that's what human brains do, sadly, and it's called the negative bias, the survival bias. And research proved that we have around 70% of our thoughts are negative. So I just wanted to let you know, it's completely normal, but it doesn't need to be this way. So how do we hack that? Rename the mean voice inside. So has anybody watched Mean Girls here? Has anybody watched the film Mean Girls? Yeah, fantastic film if you haven't watched it. So I call my mean voice inside Regina, after the mean girl Regina, because she is such a mean girl. But you can name your voice anything. I think my dad has named his voice Rudolph or something silly like that. And so whenever that voice starts to pipe up, like, oh, you can't do this, you're not worthy, nobody likes you, you're not loved enough, you're not good enough, if you were just a bit better, that wouldn't have happened. All of those sorts of voices, we can counteract by just saying, Regina, thank you, Regina. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. You can be quiet now. Thank you, Rudolph. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. You can be quiet now. Getting curious. Now, curiosity, I think, is probably one of the best characteristics of anybody. Curious people are interesting people on the whole. But getting curious about our thoughts is one of the most helpful things we can do. So when my inner voice right now is saying, Poppy, everyone thinks you're so boring, I have to get really curious. I've got to go, can I be 100% sure that everybody thinks I'm boring? Can I be 100% sure? Well, the thing is that we can never be 100% sure about anything. So immediately I go, well, I can't be 100% sure that every single person in this room thinks I'm boring. So immediately my curiosity starts to break down that inner critic inside. And lastly, get kind. We are so much kinder to other people than we are to ourselves. The standards we hold ourselves to account is so much higher than what we would expect from those that are around us. So we, again, learning to treat ourselves like a friend. No one is born with this. No one No one is born with good mental health. It is a practice, it's a skill that we all have to learn. It has to be our priority. So when we are being mean to ourselves, or if we catch a friend saying mean things to themselves, we have to think, would I treat a friend like how I'm treating myself right now? This is a good one. The third thing I wish I knew earlier is social rejection hurts just as much as physical pain. I just want to let you know that feeling rejected is so painful, and it's normal and biological for it to feel painful. And this is because, going back to caveman times and how we evolved, if we were rejected from a tribe, that would potentially mean death, right? Because we'd be outside the tribe and we wouldn't have friends to help us get food or shelter. So immediately it actually activates our fear survival system. So that's why it's helpful for it to feel painful when we get socially rejected. But obviously, in this day and age, we don't need to be as affected by social rejection because it's going to happen way more because there's way more people we're connected to than before. So when you do feel, who's been heartbroken? Oh, it's just the worst. Oh my God. If you read my book, you will realize that I have been broken up with a lot. And it is just the most painful thing ever. Because when someone rejects you, you're like, why? Why am I not good enough for you? And then the inner critic takes that and runs for a mile with it, giving you all the reasons that are not true. And so the one thing that I wish I knew earlier is, we're not a pizza. We're not going to be liked by everyone. And that's really okay. And really important to remind your mental health of. 4. Wow. Okay, you guys are all at boarding school, so I'm not too sure. I was at boarding school too, and I'm not too sure how good I was at this. But sleep is your superpower. When you have a good night's sleep, everything feels better in the morning. And research has proven that when you don't have a good night's sleep, you're 2.5 times more likely to experience stress. So if you are going through a hard time at the moment, or when you go through hard times in the future, because unfortunately that is life is quite challenging, but also it's the beauty of it, just remember to prioritize sleep. And so what I really encourage you to do at this age, because this is going to hold you in such good stead, create a sleep ritual. If it's just one thing you do before bed to remind your brain it's time to wind down. Because the problem is that we get into these bad habits of working right up until we try to go to sleep, and then we expect our body just to switch off like that. We are not a light switch. We need to train our brain to calm down and get a good night's sleep. And I promise you, this is a golden hero nugget for better mental health every single day. The 5th thing I wish I knew earlier. You can change your brain because of the magnificent discovery of neuroplasticity. Science has proven that our brain is a bit like plastic. And that means that we have the ability to change our brain at any age. So if you are sitting here thinking to yourself, I'm a bit of an anxious person, or I'm like this, I am here to tell you that science has proven that is not true. We have the ability through these tools and interventions to train our mindset to work for us. And this is one of the most liberating things about mental health. I, for years, thought that I was an anxious person. I just said, but it's just me. I'm fearful. I don't like that. No, I couldn't possibly. And it's completely false. All of us can change our brain. And emotions never last. So if you are going through a hard time, just remember everything is temporary. And so one of the tools I love to remind myself of daily is, rather than saying, as I just said, I am stressed or I am this, I like to change it to, today my mind feels. Because just like the weather, our mind changes. So a favorite quote I want to leave you with is, if it is meant for you, it will not pass you by. I got so hooked onto these things that I thought I must have. I thought I must go to this university or I must get this job. And when I didn't get it, I was absolutely demoralized. But the fact is that my life has worked out even for the better. So when I was 18, I got disqualified from my A-levels, which is kind of your SATs, I guess, because I accidentally brought my mobile phone into the exam. Don't ask, it was just such a terrible mistake. And it went off, it was on loud. And so the teacher walked up to me and said, "You've just been disqualified." So I was going to get, oh God, I need to go, your bell's going. I was going to get straight A's, I was going to go to the best university in England, and my entire life disintegrated before my eyes due to a really silly mistake. And I was devastated. But because of that phone going off, that was the reason I became a TV presenter. I moved to LA, I launched 2 companies, and I'm standing here in front of you today. So when you think the worst thing is happening, I promise you it's not. You just have to wait a little longer to find out the reason for it happening. So I'm going to miss this slide because I know we have to go. But all I want to say is our mental health is the most important thing that we possibly have. And when we look after it daily, when we look after it like we brush our teeth, you are going to put yourself in such a good place to achieve anything you want in life. I really hope you enjoy my book, and I'm around till 2 o'clock today to answer any of your questions.